Hello and welcome to British English with me, Alexandre. Today we're gonna be talking about one of the last exercise of a series. We've been talking about the tenses in English, the tenses related to the present and to the past, and how they intercalate into each other. Again, we're considering here the advanced grammar in use from Cambridge University. This is a self-study reference and a practice book for advanced learners of English from Cambridge University by Martin Hewins. Okay, we've already gone through the tenses in English. It might look a little bit difficult, but actually it's not. So this is present and past time review. So what are the tenses in English? It's quite simple. We've got the present in its simple way and in its perfect way, and we have the past in its simple way and the past perfect. So for the present we've got the simple and the perfect, and for the past we also have the simple and the perfect. So we've got four tenses to refer to the present and the past. And for each of these we have its corresponding continuous forms. For example, for the present simple we've got the present continuous. For the present perfect we've got the present perfect continuous. And for the past simple we've got the past continuous. And for the past perfect we've got the past perfect continuous. So those 80 tenses are used to express things that happen in life, when telling a story, when listening to someone. So you've got to learn those 80 tenses. I've already talked about all of them in particular, and you can find the explanation of each of these tenses in English in a playlist inside my channel about grammar, where I talk about each of them in particular. Well, now this is a review exercise. Now we're going to be talking about some peculiarities of those tenses in English. Okay, let's go through the Unit 8, where we're going to be talking about them again. Just reviewing some of their aspects. Basically, when we're talking about those tenses in English, we consider that they can be simple or continuous, both in the present or in the past. So let's go through some of those peculiarities. For example, when we focus on an activity itself, starting before and continuing up to and possibly beyond a particular point of time, rather than focusing on actions as completed events, we use continuous forms. For example, Ingrid can't come to the farm. She's washing her hair. Or, as you're not using your car at the moment, can I borrow it? Another example, this time yesterday I was flying over the Pacific. And was she wearing that red dress when you saw her? So we're focusing on a starting point, continuing up to and possibly beyond a particular point of time. So the difference basically is when it is in its simple form and when it is in a continuous form. That's where the emphasis should be. Okay, let's continue. We use simple forms to talk about general situations, habits, and things that are or were always true. For example, when I worked as a postman, I got up at 3 o'clock every morning. Again, when I worked as a postman, I got up at 3 o'clock every morning. This is a habit. It was a habit. Miguel doesn't play golf very well. Things that are or were always true. Miguel doesn't play golf very well. Another example. These birds build their nests on the ground. The earthquake struck the area at midday yesterday. Past simple for completed events. We use simple forms with verbs that describe unchanging states. that stay the same. For example, she intends to work hard at school and go on to university. Did you understand the instructions we were given? However, we can use continuous forms with these verbs when they describe something happening or changing. For example, she was intending to talk to Tony about the idea, but she didn't get the opportunity. Or, I'm understanding physics much better now that Mr. Davis is teaching us. Okay, let's go now through section B. We're talking now about the perfect, which a certain characteristic of those tenses referred to. We use the perfect verb forms to describe one event or a state from the point of view of a later time. When it's out of order, I've already talked about that. The present perfect suggests a connection between something that happened in the past and the present time. Note, however, that the situation or event does not have to continue until the time of speaking, only to have some connection or relevance to the present time. For example, I finished that book you wanted, so you can borrow it now. Another example, have you turned the heating off? I don't like it to be on when I'm not at home. Your nose is bleeding. Has somebody hit you? The past perfect is used to locate a past event before another past event. For example, I invited him out to dinner, but he said he had already eaten. By the time I picked up the phone, they had rung off. Let's go now through section C. Here we consider combinations of the perfect and continuous. We combine the perfect and continuous forms and the present perfect continuous to describe an activity in progress, either at or recently before the time of speaking, and possibly beyond it. For example, I have been following the discussions on the forum with great interest. We can also use the present perfect continuous to talk about activities that have recently finished with some result that can be seen, heard, etc. For example, look at the dirt in your clothes. Have you been digging in the garden again? Look at the dirt in your clothes. Have you been digging in the garden? Have you been digging in the garden again? The past perfect continuous has a similar meaning. However, the point of reference is not now, as it is with the present perfect continuous, but a point in the past. When we met Len and Marco, they had been riding, and it had been snowing heavily for hours, and when I went to the door, I couldn't open it. Okay, this is review, present and past time review. We talked about those important tenses in English, and just to make another review. For the present simple, we've got the present continuous. For the present perfect, we've got the present perfect continuous. For the past simple, the past continuous, and for the past perfect continuous. Basically, the continuous the corresponding ones are in the continuous form. So we've got actually 4 times. 2 for the present simple and present perfect, 2 for the past, the simple and the perfect forms, all of them with its continuous corresponding tenses. So this is basically a review from the present and the past time. So we're just finished about those tenses. It's a great step for you to improve your English and bring it to the next level. It's not difficult. We've already broke down all of those tenses. There's a playlist, as I've already said, talking about each characteristic of those tenses in English. And to complete, we will be talking about the future ahead. But for the present and for the past, all you've got to know are those 8 tenses in English. So you can understand the stories, read news article, and understand English speakers. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel, share the content with English learners, English students all over the world. And that's it for today. This is present and past time review. Thank you so much. Cheers.